Welcome to the Beau Show. At last week's Conservative Political Action Conference, I had the chance to interview Robert Davi and Kevin Sorbo, two Hollywood actors and directors who have managed to continue to work in their field despite being outspoken conservatives. Now, you would think that in Hollywood, you could say anything you want. After all, the media of film and television are expressive forms. They are literal bastions of the First Amendment. But as I learned when I lived in Hollywood and saw it with my own eyes as an actor, it is very cliquish, and it has become not a place for free expression, but an exclusive club, an arm for the Democratic Party. There was a time when actors such as Charlton Heston, John Wayne, and Cary Grant were highly involved in the Republican Party. And of course, we know that Ronald Reagan eventually became president. But times have changed, and the Democratic Party found a way to infiltrate Hollywood. And even after the McCarthy era and the Hollywood blacklist, it seems that today's blacklist targets conservatives. Davi has been in some iconic movies such as The Goonies, Die Hard, and License to Kill. Sorbo played the character of Hercules and also has been in large faith-based movies such as God's Not Dead. Both of them have faced career setbacks and missed opportunities due to their outspoken conservative beliefs. I went in depth with them about how this affected them and how they have managed to traverse this stage of their careers. I hope that you will enjoy my conversations with Robert Davi and Kevin Sorbo. Robert, you're an actor, a director, a singer, and a writer. You're known for movies like The Goonies, Die Hard, License to Kill, Predator 2, and Showgirls, too. We can't forget Showgirls. You've had quite the career. Tell me how you first got involved in showbiz.
Well, I think that started when I was a kid. I did my first play in 4th grade. That's when the arts were really encouraged in public schools. And after that play, I remember the teacher, Miss Alexander, walking my parents out to the parking lot. And the response I had gotten from that play was pretty interesting. And she said, encourage him into the arts. And I think that was the first bite of myself getting involved in the arts. I was also involved in sports, but I trained. I won a lot of awards in high school for drama and for sports. Then went to Hofstra University on a drama scholarship, and then went to Manhattan to study with Stella Adler. I always loved film and acting and music, so I think that I was inspired by.
Well, I want to know how the contract on Cherry Street came about and what it was like working with Frank Sinatra. I got to know that.
Well, that's a different thing. Now there was like I said, I'd been working with Adler.
Yeah.
And there was word on the street. I'd moved to Manhattan, and that Sinatra was doing his first film in about 7 or 8 years. So what I did was talk to my agent, Barry Moss, who became a big casting director for theater. And Mort Schwartz was the name of the agency. And I said, what about this film, Sinatra's film? He says, well, we enlist, we put you up for it, but Sinatra's using all his old friends. Mm-hmm. I said, I go, where's the production office? He said, it's on 5th Avenue next to Tiffany. All right. I said, I'm going to go up there. He goes, go ahead. What do you have to lose? Now, he could have said, don't be stupid. We set you up. They don't want you. I went up. And back then, in the late 70s, this was 77, the guard let me up. Today it would have been a whole other different time. He goes, 3rd floor, Cherry Street. So I went up there. I stuck my head in an office window door. There were 2 women in the office. I said, I understand you're casting Cherry Street. I was told it was all cast. I said, I wanted to take a shot. They looked at me, and they says, not quite. You have a picture and resume. Now, that was my opening gambit. So I says, not with me. I didn't want to be that presumptuous. They go, bring one tomorrow morning. I said, screw that to myself. And I went right back to my agent's office, got a picture and resume, brought it back within 10 minutes. They were in different positions behind the desk, and they laughed. And I says, why wait? That was a Thursday afternoon. Friday morning, back in the day, you had to, as an actor, you had to have pockets full of quarters for payphones. You had actor phone. You didn't have cell phones and stuff, whatnot. And I checked in, and they said, call Columbia right away. I did, and they said, come and pick up a script, which I did. I picked up the script, and lo and behold, there I am. They say, read these scenes, come back at 6 o'clock, go to the park, study. I did, came back, read the scenes. Sinatra was there with Hugh Benson, Renee Valenti, Billy Graham, the director. And you linger when you leave an office sometimes as an actor, after the reading, because, anyway, so I left slowly. They came right out. They said, "Don't leave yet." Now that means two things: either they want you to read a different character, or they want to direct you in a different take.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So
Know it all too
you
well.
understand this, Beau, being a performer.
People at home don't, so I'm glad you're explaining it.
Yes. I waited. She comes back out about 5 minutes later. She goes, "It's 99. What are you doing this summer?" I says, "You tell me." She goes, "It's 99% yours."
Wow. What was the 1% that was not?
I don't know. I didn't even ask that. You
didn't
never
wanna
know what
know.
that 1% is.
Right.
She says 99% will call your agent on Monday. Monday they called, made the deal. And the funny part, I had just gotten fired a couple of months earlier for my job as a waiter
Yeah.
on Fiorello's, an Italian restaurant across from Lincoln Center. So I was kind of in, dire straits.
Sure.
I was also working at a fruit and vegetable stand on 110th and Broadway from 7 at night to 7 in the morning. But I got this first film with Frank Sinatra by just being a little bit more persistent.
That's what you have to do as an actor in this business.
I think in anything.
Yeah, that's true, but particularly in entertainment, I think.
In entertainment.
Well, let's talk about music, too, because you have trained as an opera singer. I did that as well at Northwestern University, so we
great.
share that in common. You recorded an album, Davi Sings Sinatra, and critics said you made it your own. You had your own unique style, even though you're singing the Sinatra music. What compelled you to sing that particular music? Was it from the movie with Frank that compelled you to do that? What was it? What led you to that?
Well, what led me to that, basically, was as an Italian-American, son of Italian-American immigrant grandparents. There were two figures in an Italian home back in the 50s and 60s and prior. It was the Pope and Sinatra, and not necessarily in that order. And he had meant so much to the Italian-American community because he was the first artist to come out against racial bigotry and, anti-Semitism.
Yeah, The House I Live In from
The House I Live
1945.
In, yeah. And doing my first film and becoming friends with him, I wanted to do a tribute to him because he had passed, and I felt there was no real interpreter of that music that really did it justice because Sinatra had edge. He was a film star, and I had a lot of those. He was Sicilian, partly. I had a lot of those, similar. So I wanted to remind people in my show the contribution he made, the Picassoist contribution to music that he made, but also to society, because we were in such divisive times. And I felt that the great American songbook is the Shakespeare of America. It's the golden age of American music. It's what brought people around the world together. And I've gone to Estonia and Finland and Latvia, in the Baltics now that are in crisis.
Yep.
And I performed, and they loved our music. They loved the Great American Songbook.
Yeah.
Play it in their malls. They know it. So I wanted to remind people that Sinatra, not just this lingering mafia connection and with women, but his social contribution and musical contribution.
It's amazing because, I brought up The House I Live In, a song
Yes.
I re-recorded not that long ago.
Oh, you did?
I did, and, I was thinking about what I told you, my music manager Paul Kozovsky had said is, this whole notion of what is America to me? It's the house I live in, it's the neighborhood, it's the kids playing baseball. But you're right, it was to fight anti-Semitism. It was for racial unity, something we could learn something from today.
Absolutely. Well,
and so I
also
thought the times, then and now, it's not that different. We still experience all of that. But what unites us as Americans?
Exactly.
Music.
I recorded it as well.
Did you really? We'll
The
have to
House I
compare
Live In.
versions.
Yeah.
Another actor is Kevin Sorbo, who's been in faith-based movies like God's Not Dead and Let There Be Light. I hope you enjoy these conversations. Mr. Kevin Sorbo, actor, director extraordinaire. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm great. Kevin, you played Hercules, and I actually saw a speech that you made at the American Freedom Tour recently, and you said that you think that he would be a conservative. Why do you think that?
Because why? I mean, look what he did for people in a positive way, not a negative way. He not only would come in to help people, which the Democrats say they do so well, which they don't do, but he would empower them to be successful on their own, and that's what the show did. They always had good moral messages in that show, which I gotta give my hats off to the writers and what Universal Studios did with it, because there's nothing like that on TV today at all. Everything on TV today deals with anger, hatred, divisiveness, over-sexualization. I mean, it's crazy what's going on television and movies right now.
Or the anti-hero. Seems like
that's
uplifted.
Yeah, well, that started back in the 60s. Look, I'm a big Robert Redford, Paul Newman fan. I love Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, but they weren't good-looking guys like that. They weren't quippy, fast-talking guys like that. These were bad guys that killed people and robbed people, So, but Hollywood glorifies that, and they kept doing it, and they do it more and more. Movies today, if it's not a zombie, if it doesn't deal with some, alien abduction, which is fine. I'm not approved of that stuff, but it's just like, why don't you guys want to do movies like what I enjoy doing that have hope? It doesn't have to be a faith-based movie.
Yeah.
It's just a movie that's got some hope and redemption in there. Because I look at, what's a TV show? Pregnant at 16. Okay, why don't we do, hey, graduated at 18? Why don't we don't do positive stuff anymore? Everything's negative.
Kevin, when did you get political?
The thing that hits me the most is probably when I was old enough to vote, and that was 1980, and I voted for Ronald Reagan.
Reagan years.
And I grew up in Walter Mondale, Hubert Humphrey, Minnesota. My parents were beside themselves. And I remember saying to my dad, I said, Dad, this Carter guy is going to go down as probably the worst president this country's ever had. And he held that title for many years until Obama and then now Biden.
Right.
The Democrats are very good at setting new record lows, which is incredible to me.
Well, we know that in Hollywood, it is extremely difficult to be conservative. Now, you have a personal story about this, even in terms of cancel culture. Tell me the story that happened with your agent.
It's funny you mentioned cancel culture because before there was even a term for that, Hollywood was already practicing it on guys like me. My manager and agent said, we parted ways. We can't work with you anymore. Because of I was getting more vocal on sets and more vocal. Facebook was around now, and I was getting more vocal on the internet and just saying and questioning things. If somebody said something in a movie set, like, "Oh, that guy's a Nazi," and I said, "Well, how is he a Nazi?" They didn't have a reason why. They just disagreed with him politically. I go, really? Is he a Nazi? Really? Has he killed 6 million people that I'm unaware of? Because I thought I would see that in the news.
Right.
And it's weird to me that they just buy the narrative from all the CNN and MSNBC guys. It got more vocal about it. My manager said, we can't work with it anymore. And I said, you're the ones that scream for tolerance. Yet tolerance and freedom of speech in Hollywood is a one-way street. And that's sad to me because I don't harbor that anger and hate that they have towards me. I don't.
Yeah.
Different point of view? Fine, let's talk about it. I don't walk away going, I hate that person.
Speaking about this lack of tolerance, do you think there's any hope at any point that Hollywood will be able to embrace people like yourself that can speak different politically and still work?
I see the biggest change, which is quite interesting, is Bill Maher.
Yeah.
And he's a huge voice. Is he a socialist? Probably. Is he a liberal? Probably. But he can afford to be because he's very wealthy.
Right.
But he is starting to look at it now and even going after his own party because they are eating themselves. And they are the gift that keeps on giving. And I think COVID was a big kick in a positive way for things because people are starting to wake up, not only to what how bad our public education was, but also just looking at what's going on in our cities and the way people are running it. Hollywood, LA County alone has been losing 200 people a day for about 18 months now, leaving the state. 200 a day. If that doesn't send a message, they've lost, 2 seats, I think, in the whole state? If that doesn't send a message to everybody in California that, hey, maybe our politics are bad, then people are they are idiots. And I don't want to think people are idiots. I just want to think they're uneducated, they're ignorant, and blind to the truth. And I think now COVID is starting to wake people up.
You got deplatformed on, I guess it was Facebook and LinkedIn, right?
They both took me down.
What happened with that? How did that
LinkedIn
happen?
cracks me up. It's part of the cancel culture. It's as simple as that. They say they want peace and love. They don't. They love hate. They love anger. They love divisiveness. I've always said to those people out there that have canceled me, I've been canceled from speaking events, canceled from Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
I want to meet those people because they know who I am. And there's 5 of these people that probably live in the basement of their mom, and they're 35 years old. They're living off your tax dollars and mine, and they're being paid by George Soros all at the same time. I want to meet them. And it's not to get angry, have a fist fight. I want to meet them and say, you guys need to write a book. Because obviously your lives are amazingly perfect. You love who you are as a person. You have everything perfect in your life because you go after a bad, sinful guy like me. We need to learn from these people how to be better people so we don't get canceled.